Okay, so it is noon, and I think we'll just get started because we have a lot of information to review within an hour. We have a wonderful guest speaker with us, so I'm excited to introduce him. It'll be a surprise at around 12:45, so that'll be something we can all look forward to. So welcome everybody to Advancing Alberta's Transitioning Workforce. We are very excited to be announcing this unique program to Higher Landing, and we're just going to try to cram all of this into an hour. If any of you do have questions, we will save some time for Q&A at the end. And as well, if you have a burning question, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. So this is a workshop primarily for either employers or those in a position to influence the hire of a prospective candidate within the Alberta workforce. So this is a very unique program where the essence of it effectively is helping the entire province transition and move themselves forward. So the fact that you are all here, I would like to, first of all, I'm very grateful because you, just by your attendance, are contributing to helping us to move Alberta forward. I'm just going to ask everybody if they could just mute themselves. Actually, I'll do that. And then if you would like to ask a question, just feel free to unmute yourself. Perfect. Away we go. Okay, so just really quickly, I'm going to try to provide you with a picture of the landscape of what we are up against right now in Alberta. So this is a presentation that is focused primarily for the benefit of anybody that is in a hiring position in Alberta. And, you know, when we look at the pace of change that has occurred over the past couple of years, it almost takes your breath away. We've essentially experienced 2 years of digital transformation in effectively 2 months. And the fallout of that has been multifold, but most importantly, it has created unprecedented job market uncertainty, both for job seekers as well as employees and employers. Most of you have already pivoted your workforce to be working remotely. And like it or not, it looks like that is something that is going to be here to stay for at least the immediate future. A lot more digital collaboration. What we're seeing is, despite what we are hearing in the news regarding Alberta's next boom, the job market itself is becoming far more competitive, especially for highly skilled people. And that is because the shelf life of skills is shrinking so rapidly. So we're seeing a lot more of our clients pivot their careers, upskill in multiple fields. And the other real development that I wanted to communicate is the fact that our value and our soft skills are actually taking precedence over our hard skills, meaning that hard skills are becoming less almost valuable because the shelf life of hard skills, this is in Alberta, and this is according to the Business Council of Alberta, it has shrunk from about 30 years to now 6. That means that any education, hard skills that you would have taken in school, in a course, whatever, has about a 6-year time frame, and that is in itself is going to be shrinking before you're going to have to learn how to do it differently or learn something new, or it will be completely replaced. So the fallout of this is that thousands of jobs are becoming redundant by the month, if not by the week. And what nobody's really talking about are the jobs that are simultaneously becoming created. And this is where we get really excited about the work that we're doing with our clients, because in order for them to successfully move into these new jobs, new job titles, or pivot careers, they probably nobody would have the requisite skills, hard skills, or industry experience necessarily required in order to successfully make those pivots. But I'm really happy to announce that that seems to be a trend that we are seeing, at least amongst our clients, But the reason that they're doing that, the secret to how they're doing that successfully, is that they're not marketing themselves on the basis of their hard skills anymore. It's all about their value. So I just wanted to touch a little bit upon their value, because we're noticing more employers creating roles for people that have never existed, because the individual is able to provide value to them and solve a problem that they never had before. And so some of the soft skills that people are being hired for, and these are the top soft skills, it's not just 2021, it's probably going far into the future. Creativity, collaboration, empathy, multicultural awareness, social skills, emotional intelligence, and learnability. And if you'll notice, all of these are things that a computer cannot do. It's really hard for artificial intelligence to have a heartbeat. Now, having said that, that's probably something we're going to be seeing in the future, which scares me, but whatever. And the reality is that robots are coming for our jobs. So anything that has a repetitive nature to it is ripe for automation, and artificial intelligence is going to probably be in the mix somehow to replace that job or make that particular task redundant. And so when we look at the mad rush of, the proliferation of artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, all colliding together in this province to create what some people view as the perfect storm, there are actually tremendous opportunities for organizations and people to expand their businesses, to scale, to do things differently, more productively, more efficiently, more inexpensively. And the trick to doing that, though, is not relying on traditional job search techniques, recruitment techniques of just hiring because the person has got, they check these boxes on a bunch of hard skills. That's going the way of the dodo bird, and this is what we're seeing on a very rapid scale. And I feel bad for a lot of people being forced into, technical fields, being promised work. And a lot of times that doesn't pan out for them because they're taking those courses for the wrong reasons. If you take something like artificial intelligence and robotics, for instance, that is certainly not a career for everybody. You have to have the aptitude, and it has to be in alignment with your purpose. And if it's not, then your competition, once you land in the job market, are going to be those that are on purpose and applying for those roles. So I get frustrated when I see people taking things for the wrong reasons, and we're seeing it everywhere. Everybody's saying, well, you have to be, learnability is really important, which it is. But it's really important that people, all of us, before we decide to take any kind of course to upskill or reskill or whatever, that we first of all step back and assess what our value is, and look at then courses that will further enhance that value rather than dilute it. Because if we are just taking things for the wrong reasons, it is never going to be able to provide value to us or to anybody else. So in alignment with all of these trends, 85% of jobs in 2030, I'm hearing this from multiple sources, have not yet been invented. And the pace of that change to get there is going to be so rapid that people are going to be having to learn in the moment using augmented reality, virtual reality, learning in ways that they've never been exposed to before. And the reason for that is that the ability to gain new knowledge is going to be more valuable than the knowledge itself. And just because, and a lot of these, we're in the midst of this massive paradigm shift. And so when we look at, what we used to do in the, a few years ago, we were rewarded for working really hard. And however, that working hard era, I call that coming from the industrial area, that was the old-fashioned approach to getting ahead. Now, learning hard is replacing that as the knowledge economy equivalent. And there's no question we're moving into, we're moving from a resource economy in Alberta anyway, into more of that knowledge economy. And, the illiterate, they're saying the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And those that understand the importance of that are those that are going to have the best chance of succeeding and navigating through the upcoming storm that we're seeing with the unprecedented pace of change. So when I talk about value, these are some of the things that people are now being hired for. And so in our program, for instance, this is one of the things that we really emphasize, is to help people understand what their value is outside of their hard skills, their last job title, their pedigree, their education, because all of those things, a job can be ripped away from you in a second. It can be ripped away from all of us at any time. But understanding our value stays with us for life. And that is going to be what we should be compensated for. So if we don't know what our value is out of those traditional things that used to define us, like how much money we made and where we were on the corporate ladder and how much education we had, a lot of that doesn't matter anymore, because our pain points, employers' pain points, the things that they need to deal with, the priorities, the challenges, the things that are keeping them up at night are changing at groundbreaking speed. So what's happening is that employers are having to hire people on the fly, not because they've got some hard skill or some historic work experience, but because they've got value to them today. And so one of the things that we talk about is this notion of IP. So IP in your world might stand for intellectual property. In the higher learning world, it stands for the two most important questions to ask anybody before you start selling yourself or anything else. I, what's important to you, and P, what are your pain points? So what we train our clients to do is to understand what somebody's pain points are that are important to them, that are a priority to them, what their main challenges are, what's keeping them up at night now, and identify whether or not they have got the ability to add value in solving those pain points. And we should all be doing that to manage our careers, because IPs of our own IPs and our own organizations today could be very different than what our pain points were last week, last month, and certainly last year. So because there's so much change happening with that side of the job market, the best way to sort of navigate through the storm is to hang on to that which will never be taken away from you, which is your value. Your value has followed you around like a shadow all of our lives. It's just that we've never really been encouraged or forced to look at who we were outside of those hard skills, because we've never had to. And now the job market right around the globe is starting to encourage that. So when we talk about value, it's being able to explain to somebody how their life or their organization is going to be different with them in it. So how will your life be different if you hire me? What am I guaranteed to get from you? So here are some examples of value propositions these are all value propositions from professional clients. So the majority of people in our program are professionals. A lot of them have designations of they're engineers, accountants, lawyers, business analysts, IT people, HR, all functional areas pretty much. So some of what they've said their value is outside of those professions is that they've got a track record of making other people look good, or creating harmony, or they're the initiator. They're really great at getting things off the ground. One of our clients who we're gonna showcase today, we call her plug and play. There isn't anywhere that you can't just dump her in. She doesn't need any training. She will figure it out on her own, and you have to see it to believe it. But it's magical to watch her in action. Somebody that can resolve issues, the relationship builder, the peacekeeper, the initiator. A quick example on a client that he was a geologist that ended up pivoting into banking. And when he came through our program, he realized that his value was really the peacekeeper, right? He came from a family with a lot of conflict, a large family, and he just wanted to make people happy. He wanted to keep the peace. And so when he landed in his banking role, and he started pretty much at the bottom after a very successful international geology career, we tell our clients to make sure that wherever they land, to make sure that their employers know what their value is, because that's what they want to be known as the go-to person for. This is what we mean when we talk about career management, is doing every day something where you are able to serve, where you're able to provide value, not just because you've got some hard skill that could be redundant tomorrow. So he called himself the peacekeeper, and made sure that his employer knew that that's his value. aside, because he didn't have any banking skills when he started the job. Within about a year and a half, he ended up having 3 promotions, and he's now the vice president or leader of another bank. But what happened was the bank realized that he had this ability to retain relationships and make them better and keep the peace. So what they did was they started assigning him all of those problem accounts that the bank was on the verge of losing. And the next thing you know, he had those clients eating out of their hand, so he didn't just save the business for the bank, he was actually increasing the amount of revenue that he was generating from those accounts. So that is a way, that's just one example of what our clients can have done to manage their careers on the basis of their value. And I would like to encourage you to go to our website, a futurist from the UK, from England, and an IT guru. He's Chief Technology Officer of a green tech capital company in the UK. And this webinar, I would like to encourage you to watch it. It's on our website. It was jaw-dropping, some of the things that he was saying. Now, believe it or not, change is coming. I don't know the degree to which it's coming to Alberta, but it is going. Alberta next year is going to be very different than the Alberta of this year. But high level, he's talking about us living longer, having multiple careers. The importance of learning is more important than the knowledge itself. Moore's Law, where the productivity of computers and machines are doubling every 2 years. He's talking, he's encouraging us to think exponentially. And, he's talking about singularity happening by 2045. And what that means is computers achieving human level intelligence, which is scary, which is very, very scary. But right now, for instance, he's saying that computers have an insect level of intelligence. So just imagine what's going to happen between now and 2045 in order to make that happen, if we buy into it. So change is inevitable. We can either choose to change and shift to a learning mindset, or choose to retrench and don't evolve. And so then you're always playing defense. So in terms of career pivoting, we're seeing we've just kind of inadvertently become specialists in this area because we've essentially had to. The majority of people want to pivot. The majority of people want to leave the energy sector. So a lot of our clients have come or are in the energy sector and are looking for careers outside of that. And we recently did a survey of our clients, and about 65% of the respondents said that they had already successfully pivoted their careers or were open to doing so, with only 13% saying that they didn't want to. So this is very much in alignment with statistics that we've been seeing right across the country. What is interesting, though, is that when people have reported making a pivot, usually they say that they're much happier, so their job satisfaction goes up. Another thing you've probably heard of a lot is that this notion of the Great Resignation, where we're seeing record numbers of people quitting their jobs as we emerge from the pandemic. And I think Microsoft said that 40% of the global workforce is considering leaving their jobs this year. And if given the chance to retrain, over half would take a new job in a completely new industry altogether. So part of it is because a lot of professionals have got a bit of a financial cushion. So there's this fearlessness that now they're saying, I never really liked what I was doing, or I was extremely burnt out. Burnout has been huge over the pandemic. I'm just going to take a time out. And so people are really reevaluating their priorities in terms of what they feel is important to them. So when we look at the collective definition historically of success, where we had to climb up the corporate ladder and have certain job titles and make a certain amount of money, all of that is becoming very sort of old-fashioned almost. And now people, what they're defining success as is more intrinsic. So fulfillment and peace of mind and having more purpose-driven careers. And so we're seeing a lot of this. What is happening for employers is the need for more employee retention programs. And then the delusion is that burnout is the price to pay for success. And companies realizing that are going to be the ones that are least impacted by this great resignation, by these resignations. So in summary, statistics are showing that 83% are willing to make a career change in the next year. 88% said that their definition of success had changed because of the pandemic, and 64% said that they were willing to leave their job with no backup plan. So are we prepared for that? What's going to happen if our key people leave us with next to no notice? We have to be prepared for that. What we're seeing in Alberta, high level, a lot more diversification, which is very encouraging. New jobs are replacing increasing job redundancies. You know, is Alberta on the cusp of an oil and gas boom? Perhaps, I'm not sure. I'm not an economist, but what we are seeing is that there are not going to be as many people required if there is another boom that happens within the next 12 months. The other issue complicating this is the fact that there aren't as many people that are as interested in going back to a high-paying oil and gas job as there once was. And so we have to ask ourselves, I mean, does Alberta have the required hard skills anyway? And so if we are going to continue to support the province and our collective economic transformation and advancement, we have to work together to give some of our historically highest economic contributors who are now out of work, their careers have maybe become redundant. We have to work together to give them a chance. And we are doing our part, and that's one of the things that we want to share with you today, what type of talent we have. There is just some absolutely incredibly smart, gifted people that a lot of us don't even know about that are able, ready, and willing to take a job in a different industry, often at a much reduced wage. So we're seeing our clients getting hired to automate businesses. Anything, as I was mentioning, with a repetitive nature is going to be replaced by computers. So if anybody has that ability to automate processes, they're going to be the most attractive candidates. When we look at it at high level, where our clients have recently landed, as I was saying, the economy in Alberta is really starting to diversify, so it's really exciting. So these are just some of the industries that our clients have been landing in the past few months. Artificial intelligence, gaming, commercial explosives. I don't know where that came from, but you know, these are emerging industries, and it's a very exciting time for the Alberta economy, I believe. So when we look at our professional clients, the kind of people we have in our program, engineers, accountants, a lot of these are designated folks that have had very successful careers. Oftentimes, it's been in the energy sector. Supply chain, HR, IT, business analysis, project management, HS&E, geosciences, data analysis, business development, business consulting, marketing, land, and probably everything else in between. So on that note, I would like to pass this over to our Vice President, Erin Wilkins. And Erin, would you be able to chat a little bit about the workplace training program?
Post for now and share my screen with you so that Jackie doesn't have to follow along for me. Hello, everyone. So we're going to kick off from basically the same spot that Jackie was in. Oops, let me just do one thing. I just realized I need to share my sound for you for this too. So 1 second. There we go. All right, so I run the government funded program that we have here with Higher Landing. A little bit of history on what the program is so that you guys understand better. We've actually been partnered with the government of Alberta and the government of Canada since 2017. We're not a government agency, but we've partnered with them to help transitioning professionals, predominantly in the Calgary area, return to work. And mostly it's those impacted by the downturn in the oil and gas industry. They're not all from oil and gas, but they've been impacted by the downturn, which one could argue all Albertans have. And so our job is to help them retrench and get back into the workforce. With this program in particular, which we started delivering with the government in 2020, the goal is to actually provide an opportunity for individuals who are pivoting to get what they call workplace training. It's a workplace training program. And what happens is that organizations will basically hire someone on who is doing, it could be a smaller pivot, it could be a fairly drastic pivot. We've had a little bit of everything and we'll give you some examples. And they're going to do some retraining with that person when they come into the workforce. So you're going to provide some on-the-job training. And what happens then is that the government is going to subsidize some of their wage for up to 3 months. So usually a lot of that training you can get through in the first 3 months-ish. And that's what the government will help subsidize their wage so that you as a company aren't burdened with paying their whole wage throughout that first 3 months of the program. And then they also provide additional funding for short courses. So let's say the on-the-job training isn't enough and you want to send them on a couple of different courses to help them retrain in different areas, in specific areas. There's some funding set aside for that. So the company, your organization, isn't burdened with having to pay for the courses, and you have a lower burden financially for helping pay their salary while they're being retrained. So that's kind of the nature of what the program is. Some of the benefits of the program that we've seen is that obviously it minimizes the cost of bringing on new staff and training them. And there's a bit of a lower risk to companies. They're people that have gone through our program who know where they want to go. They're ready for the pivot. They've made that decision, but also you're getting some subsidizing from the government. And so there's a lower risk for you to actually have these people come through your program. These people have been pre-screened. They have to go through some screening to even qualify for the government-funded program. They've gone through the government-funded program. A lot of them have gone through our Grizzly Den as well, where they've had to pitch themselves to a panel. So they've done a lot of things to get themselves ready. They also have done a lot of work on understanding their value and understanding how and where to apply that value as well. So a lot of these guys are better equipped to pivot. They've been talking about it with their coach. They've been talking about it with their cohort. They know where they want to go. They know why, and they know how they're going to add value. It also helps with us to advance some of Alberta's diversification, right? So we're trying to encourage Alberta to diversify beyond just being an oil and gas province. And I think that Alberta's had some success in that diversification. Part of that is taking these great, intelligent, wonderful people and giving them the opportunity to apply their skills in different industries and really add a lot of value. We've had some great success with people pivoting, especially in the last couple of years. Here are a couple of examples of people who have been in our workplace training program in the last year or so. One gentleman, the first one, Januar, that I want to talk about, he was a reservoir engineer in oil and gas for several years, and he ended up pivoting from oil and gas into the hydrogen industry. Now, his is probably a smaller pivot because he's still a reservoir engineer, but he's pivoting from oil and gas to hydrogen. What happened was he went through our program, decided that he was quite interested in hydrogen, and he started figuring out which companies would be a good fit for him. And we asked some people from those companies to potentially be on our Grizzly Den panel. And Jackie will explain the Grizzly Den in a little bit to you. And basically hear his story and hear his pitch. And he had done a couple of pitches without having any of those Grizzlies on his panel. And then this is what happened next. So it'll be his story for a few seconds. He ended up getting hired on the spot in the Grizzly Den to do an internship with Proton Technologies, and is still there several months later working with them. So
yeah, and then Jack, I got an email from Jackie, which kind of at the time it makes my heart jump actually. Hey, you want to pitch one more time? I was like, third time? Wow, the grant is coming. I was like, wow, of course I want to do that. So there you go. I think it was January. Was it January or
February? I think January, February. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was in for the third time. Grant was there, and yeah, the rest is, I guess quite a lot of you already know what happened. That was, in my mind, that was pure luck.
Well, I think it was a little bit more than pure luck. I know Januar is extremely humble, you guys, but I have never seen anybody work as hard as Januar to pivot to another industry. He demonstrated his passion. Once he made the decision to pivot to hydrogen, he made an all-out effort to demonstrate his passion as well as his value to that sector. He was blogging, so those of you in the program have seen Januar's blogs. He was educating others. He was mentioning his dream employers on social media, in LinkedIn, in those blogs, and he was developing a name for himself.
That's one gentleman that we had that did a pivot and ended up going through the workplace training program. Another one that did a more drastic pivot, and this individual is quite interesting. His name's Robert. He had worked as a process engineer in oil and gas for a few years, process and project engineer. And he was working predominantly as a project engineer in the latter part of his oil and gas career with an engineering procurement company. And he was ready for a change. Now, it turns out on the side, he also had a hobby of programming on the back end. He loved to just fiddle around with computers. It was his passion. It was what he loved to do. And so he, at work, had been designing a lot of programs to help simplify tasks, even in his role as a project engineer, which wasn't technically a part of his role, but he was doing that at work. And then he realized, you know what, I would really like to make it a career where I'm actually designing programs. So he's going to talk a little bit about how the workplace training program came about. He had made contact with the company just to talk about potential opportunities. And this is kind of what followed for him.
Cool enough. Through that kind of capacity, one thing I was like telling them was, hey, you know what, Higher Landing has this workforce placement thing. And I was like, hey, we could save you some money too. So if you want, I can give you some really dope services, but I can do it cheaper. So we ran through this program, and yeah, she was able to save money through this Higher Landing workforce placement. I hope I'm saying that right. Workplace training. And yeah, through that, after my consulting stuff, she was just like, wow, you've been doing awesome. So can we hire you on board? And kind of what you're saying, Jackie, probably had I not done that workplace training, which also let me take some classes, which was awesome. I probably, it would have been hard to build that communication and that relationship right at the beginning. So
that's just a couple examples of people that we've had run through the programs, very different destinations in mind. I'm going to hand it over to Ryan Mears. He's going to talk about a few people that are in our program right now that are looking to potentially do workplace training, and he'll just give you a little bit of a description on them.
Cool enough.
Whoops, we don't
do that kind of capacity.
My goodness, there we go.
I'm just going to let them talk again. It'll be a lot easier. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the time. As Aaron said, you know, we've seen a couple of instances where we've had some success stories. But the nice thing with Higher Landing is that we constantly have new clients coming and going, usually going fairly quickly because they're highly sought after by employers in Alberta. So we'll go through, we have a handful here just to give you an idea of what type of talent comes through as our candidates. So we have Bill Monks. You can read kind of a little bit of his background and what each of these individuals is looking at getting into. But as the innovation accelerates in Alberta, employers are going to need people that are on board, that are going to be able to bring the rest of their crew on board with them. So what Bill is really successful at is leading teams and leading companies to transform from basic technology from the past or unused technology into transforming into a modern structure with newer technology. So he uses a lot of collaboration and empathy to get his fellow coworkers on board and understanding the importance of this new technology. We also have Nelson, has a strong accounting background, but his is kind of an interesting individual because not only is he extremely driven at finding value in everything within the company, he's also a little bit, we don't want to call him a disturber, but he likes to challenge the status quo. So as your companies are advancing into this new economy, you're going to need people similar to Nelson who are willing to put their neck out there and actually challenge what's being done for years and years, because that's not going to work going forward. So we have one of his greatest values is being able to move things forward. We also have Tamara. Tamara has we like to use these little special catchphrases within our program, and she likes to call herself a daring solutionist. And again, as we're transforming into this new economy, we're wanting to get employees into your companies that are willing to try some new solutions. Another great aspect of her value is the understanding that she will take the time to have empathy with fellow coworkers. Because she is a CPA, and she's looking at getting into the auditing side. There's some difficult conversations that have to be done, and she has that ability to create those relationships. So those, not only are those a lot easier for the individual, but there's a lot more understanding and buy-in into the changes going forward. Paul De La Russo is a very interesting individual. He comes from the oil and gas industry, but is looking to pivot into renewable energy. And he's an extremely successful curator of information. And by curating all this information, he allows leadership to make informed decisions. As well, he's able to give them some great insight over where the value is and where there's some great cost-cutting measures available within the company. Ksenia is a really exciting individual from overseas. She has a great international experience in the energy sector, primarily over in Russia. And as well, she is coming from an environmental specialist role and looking to get into more of the ESG, into the governance area. And she actually is in the process of getting her certification with ESG. But as well, she has the ability to find the best solution in a bad situation. And let's be honest, for those that are in the energy sector, understand when it comes to environmental issues, sometimes they're just bad situations. So she's able to find the best possible outcome from that situation. And then finally, we have Sarah Humphrey, and I know Jackie had mentioned her before. We call her our plug and play specialist. She's really been able, you can put her into any situation within the company. The interesting thing with Sarah is that she does use technology and uses technology to advance the company into this new reality that we're getting into. So she uses automation and uses some great insight into being able to move things forward. I'll move it back to Erin.
All right, so that's just a sample. We always have new people coming in. We have more people than this available right now, but we just want to give you a high level overview of some people. So I do get a lot of companies saying, well, do I qualify to even do this? Well, basically, if you're willing to bring someone on, if you're an Alberta-based company, because this is an Alberta government-funded program, so you have to be operating in Alberta, and you're willing to bring someone on and provide some of that training so that they can do pivoting. And it's not like every day, all day, but you have to be able to give them, you know, some on-the-job ongoing training, which I would argue a lot of us do with new employees anyway. And you have to be incorporated in an Alberta entity. And unfortunately, government and crown corporations are ineligible, but outside of that, pretty much all Alberta corporations are eligible. Definitely you can have further discussions with Ryan about the program or myself to learn more about if you would qualify, but there aren't that many that don't really. So I do want to talk about a couple of other programs that we have available in Alberta that you might have heard of. So some of you might have heard of the Alberta Jobs Now program, and there's also the Canada Alberta Job Grant. There are a ton of other programs out there to get funding to bring on employees, but they're for very specific niches. I've seen a lot for hiring youth or Indigenous people, so you can get funding for doing that, or people with disabilities sometimes. There are also some programs out there that are for people that are in the military or for people that do something very specific, like there's a lot around R&D right now and getting some of their wage subsidized if you're bringing on R&D people. These programs are broader, which is like ours, like you don't have to be a very specific niche like that to look at our program. But I just wanted to kind of explain the differences. So Alberta Jobs Now came out last year, and it's funding, Alberta government's running it, but the funding's coming predominantly from the federal government, and it's to help Albertans get back to work. And what they'll do is they'll help subsidize a portion of their salary for the first year that they're in your organization. They don't have to be pivoting. The government's just really trying to get Alberta hiring again. And I think it's working. I mean, Alberta is hiring again. The Canada Alberta Job Grant that's available is more about training. So it doesn't have the hiring or the wage subsidy component, but it has a training component. So that the government will help pay for training for new employees and even for existing employees to a certain degree. So those are other ones you can look at. If you look at the difference between our program and these other two programs, which we don't fund, we're not a part of, but there's lots of information on the internet about them. The workplace training program is a 3-month commitment, right? So you're bringing this person on, and it can be less if you only want them for a shorter period of time. It's just you only get subsidized for as long as that person is working there, and it's for up to 3 months. If you're doing the Alberta Jobs Now program, there's a year-long commitment. If you end up hiring someone and it doesn't work out, you're expected to replace them, and you can replace them up to 2 times, but you're expected to replace them for that full year, or you won't get the subsidy. So that's a difference with that program. It doesn't really apply to the Canada Alberta Job Grant because it's just about training for that one. So there's no real time commitment for that. As I said before, with the workplace training program, we have wage subsidy and a training subsidy. With Alberta Jobs Now, it's a wage subsidy only. So our wage subsidy, the way that ours works for our program, is that you get up to $390 a week of their salary paid. And usually that's a fixed amount. So everyone who's gone through our program, because they're all professionals making a certain amount a year, they've been getting that $390 a week, which over 3 months is about $5,000 of salary that you're going to get compensated. And Alberta Jobs Now, you can get up to 25% of their salary subsidized up to $25,000 a year. So if you're paying someone $100,000 a year, you would get $25,000 potentially subsidized. If you're paying someone $60,000, or let's say $50,000, so my math is easier. So $50,000 a year, you would get only $12,500 subsidized. So annualized, ours is constant. It doesn't matter what salary you pay them, you get the $390 no matter what. So ours can actually be worth more money to you on a per hour or per month basis. With the Canada Alberta Job Grant, it's just the training subsidy. So with our program, in addition to the $390 a week for their salary, you also can get up to $7,500 in short courses paid for, which is pretty substantial. Like with Robert, I think he took, gosh, 6 or 7 courses, and he didn't come anywhere close to 7,500 taking those different courses. And we've had other people take, you know, to get to 7,500, you have to take a lot of courses, but it's great that that funding is available. Alberta Jobs Now, there's no training subsidy portion to it, and Canada Alberta Job Grant, there's only a training portion, and you can get that money too. So if you have brought on a new employee and you're looking to do training, look into Canada Alberta Job Grant potentially, right? Also, as far as your opportunity to register, what we found with Alberta Jobs Now is that there's really short windows because there's a lot of uptick. A lot of companies seem to want to register for these programs. So what they've limited it to now with this latest one that opened just a couple weeks ago is that any company can hire up to 10 people under the Alberta Jobs Now program. And there's a short window you can do it in. My guess is based on this summer, it opened up and it closed within a month. So there's about a month window that you could apply for that grant this summer. So we'll see how long it lasts this fall. It's based on how much money they go through, basically. Ours is kind of ongoing. So there's a consistent ongoing rolling opportunity to register. Of course, there's some urgency because the candidates go fairly quickly. So, and with Alberta Job Grant, there's also that ongoing ability to register. Now the candidates come and go fairly quickly in our program, but it means that there's a lot of candidates coming and going all the time for you to evaluate. And it means that there's, we're doing a lot of that pre-screening and pre-qualification of candidates for you, which you wouldn't get with some of the other programs as well. But Alberta Jobs Now is still a great program, as is the Canada Alberta Job Grant. So we're going to pass this over to Clark. Is he here, Jackie? Is Clark here?
Hi,
Clark,
Aaron. Hi, Jackie.
Oh, you are here, Clark. Clark is someone who actually he's hired a couple of higher landing people through us. And so we're going to just chat with Clark a little bit. So Clark, do you want to tell us a little bit about your business and what you guys do?
And who he is. So Clark is the president and CEO of Rainmaker Global Business Development. He's also been a Grizzly. So Clark, thank you so much for your time there as well.
Yeah.
But we would love to know more about your business because you're growing like a weed by the sounds of it.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie, and Aaron. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. So Rainmaker's been around since 2007, based in Calgary, but we have about 40 people scattered around the world. We basically work with businesses. We're a consulting practice that works with businesses who are attempting to expand or scale their business in a new geographical market. So we go through data analytics to build a strategic plan, and then use our people on the ground in Australia, Middle East, Europe, US, etc., to help execute a plan to basically start this company off in a new jurisdiction. So it's a lot of analytical work, a lot of data, a lot of strategy, consulting with our clients, understanding what their global aspiration is, and then we build a plan to help them go do that. Of course, having people in these markets makes a big difference. So it's not just data and process; it's also relationship capital, et cetera, which is in that particular market. When we started Rainmaker in 2007, when it's kind of Clark and Calgary going, I know people, come knock on my door, I'll help you get into the market. It's expanded dramatically since then. I don't get to do that anymore. I get to sit in the office and basically quarterback things. But the company's grown both in Calgary and of course around the world. And that's an exciting thing. So yeah, that's great. But our experience with the program and with Higher Landing has been excellent. So it was interesting to me to think about this, and having been a Grizzly some years ago, I think I was one of the earlier Grizzlies back in the day. I always knew what Higher Landing was doing, and I knew about this, this transitioning of professionals into different sectors. But then we got to talking about it this past year and thought, well, why wouldn't Rainmaker, actually do this as well? Our business is often filled with former government people like myself. So we kind of got on that treadmill a bit, and I was hiring people that I knew from my past careers and so on. But we ended up bringing in 2 engineers, and both in very different roles coming into Rainmaker. One is my EA and my right hand now, and kind of make sure everything and the whole company sort of corporate management wise moves forward. Lillian, and she's been fantastic. Sadly, she's not here today because she had a skiing accident yesterday, so she's back. She's at home, so not with me here today. And then the other one's Mark Kuteria, and Mark also great graduate, a Grizzly graduate, and all that sort of good stuff. An engineer as well, but we've put him into project management with us. And I know for some days, Mark, it's really a stretch, in his brain, going from engineering to creative and looking at new markets and how a company would be successful in going into a new market. But other days he just gets into his rhythm, and it all kind of makes a lot of sense. And the thing I've loved about having, in this case, engineers come in, is they think differently than a lot of the creative folks that I'm used to dealing with all the time. Neither one's better or worse, just they think differently. And so when you have engineers who understand process so well, and they apply that to a particular client file, which we work with for 6 months, a year, 3 years, that process piece and laying the foundation towards a successful project is exactly applicable to what we do. Because what we do is not just sort of flaky, hand waving, so to speak, marketing stuff. It's actually market penetration and getting the right stakeholders built up in a new market, getting success in the market. So actually what we've seen is this process, the idea of an engineer's mind onto this creative set that we live in has worked really well. And it's been something that, I think both of them, they're not here, so I can talk about them. I think they enjoyed the shift, or are enjoying the shift. Both been here, I guess, about 6 months. So, enjoying the change, enjoying the shift. I think for both of them, it's they're out of their water a little bit, out of their pond. So they're having to sort of maybe think twice about something while we're doing it, but they get there, and that's been the brilliant piece for us. And obviously working with Jackie and Aaron's been great, and their team. They've been doing this for a long time now. They know how to make this happen. And I mean, the Grizzly Den was fantastic conceptually way back when you guys started it. To really help candidates get comfortable and understand what they're pitching when they're pitching themselves. I think it's brilliant. So that's the bit about the Rainmaker story. We've been very happy with the experience and working with Higher Landing, and the product. Not to call you guys the product, but in a sense, for a company, you're looking for fit. You're looking for the right people, but you're looking for the right skill set. So that's been excellent for Rainmaker for sure so far, and I'm sure we'll be doing more.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Clark. We really, really appreciate those kind words. And I can attest that I've spoken to both Mark and Lillian, and they are loving life there. So
good. Excellent. Good to hear. Excellent.
So Clark, are you going to be okay to stay on for just a few moments in case anybody
Sure.
has any questions? So we just got a few minutes left, everybody. And I just wanted to, I'm just trying to share my screen and I can't see.
I made you host.
Oops, there we go. Give me 1 second here.
Sorry, I stopped my share so you can share easily.
Okay.
Ah, technology.
All right, everybody. So just in closing, I know that we're talking about a lot of terms that you probably have never, that might be foreign to you, like this Grizzly Den and whatnot. But Higher Landing is a career management company. We help people we help them identify the best job and the best future career path for them. And what's happening in the market right now is that career path is more, it's no longer a straight line, it's more like a zigzag. So we really try to help them navigate through all of that uncertainty. The other thing that we're really trying to do is to help advance the province forward. And, there's a lot of very gifted, talented people out there, and we're very committed to helping them continue to advance the economy. And what's good for them is also good for all of us and good for our economy. One of the things that we do is we evaluate what we call a success rate. And so I just, further to Aaron's point, these people and Ryan, what Ryan was saying, they tend to churn in and out pretty quickly. And the reason for that is that they land within, about 73% land within 3 months of completing the program. So they're landing jobs pretty quickly, certainly more quickly than those that are perhaps their peers who are not in the program. And one of the things that we do as well is, and a lot of people don't realize this, is outplacement. And we just try to provide a little bit more of a unique value proposition to it, shall we say. We also service people that are both working as well as not working, so in the professional development space as well. And we've got people in our program that are recent grads, mid-career, and those that are nearing retirement or in retirement. So if you decide that you want to hire somebody from the workplace training program, there is quite a depth and breadth of talent to choose from. This is just to give you a quick picture of what our Grizzly Den is about. The Grizzly Den was fashioned after TV's Dragon's Den. I did the first one, I believe, in 2015, thinking that it was just going to be a one-off. And Aaron, how many Grizzly Dens have we had? Probably over 400.
Hundreds. I can't even count hundreds.
Hundreds, 400 or 500 Grizzly Dens so far to date. And so what happens is the people in our program, the reason that, we're not easy on them, and it's not necessarily the easiest program, but we really try to make them the cream of the crop once they land in the job market. And part of that is giving them an opportunity to pitch themselves to a live panel of decision makers, HR presidents, vice presidents, people like Clark, community leaders who they don't know, that will tell them whether or not they feel that they're ready to go to market. They give them feedback, helpful advice. In some cases, they've even been hired. And so the Grizzlies, we've got some of the Grizzlies that come on the panel because he said, I'm looking for a ROFR, a right of first refusal on some of these amazing, highly talented people. So what happens is if the majority of Grizzlies on a panel, there's usually 5 or 6 Grizzlies. I'd love to have Ryan perhaps can fill you in on whether or not any of you might be interested in being Grizzlies. There's usually 5 or 6 on a panel. If the majority of them feel that the person is indeed ready to go to market after their pitch, they get what we call Grizzly certified, and we post these photos of them on the internet. So when we were working prior to COVID in our office, the top photos you can see, we were doing Grizzly Dens live in our office. Now all of them are done virtually. And you can see the pictures there. If anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about some of what we're doing to help the community, help people pivot their careers, there is a great part on our website that showcases a lot of our webinars that we've recently done. So Ananda, the futurist, talking about the exponential thinking and future of work, we just had him come and speak to us a couple of weeks ago. That webinar, these are short webinars, so it's not like you have to take a day to watch them. And we have a lot of career pivot webinars as well. And some of our Grizzlies have come in and spoken. So next steps, if you are interested in learning more about our workplace training program, I would like to invite you to have a chat with Ryan. And Ryan, could you perhaps just follow up with everybody afterwards and just at least give them your contact information?
Absolutely. I'll be contacting everybody that's attended. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And as well, if you have any interest in having a conversation about outplacement or our professional development programs, you can also speak to Ryan. We'd be happy to give you a demo. As well, we would love for you to be a volunteer Grizzly or even a guest in the Grizzly Den if you'd like to do so. The commitment of your time is really only a day, in some cases a half a day. So it's not like you're committing your life away for the next year. And we would also, for those that are here today, we would like to extend a complimentary Knowing Your Brand workshop. It is a full day workshop. It's the flagship workshop in our program. We've had incredible feedback from it, and it's also fantastic for professional development for your staff as well. You are also welcome to attend our Emerging Sectors and Transferable Skills workshop that also comes with a very thorough aptitude assessment.